Look into its eyes. It sees what we can't. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Look into its eyes. It sees what we can't. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Look into its eyes. It sees what we can't. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Listen, babe. Look into its eyes. It sees what we can't. Listen, babe. Listen, babe.
Right, good morning once more. The date today is the 13th of the second month, February 2026. The time currently is 16 past 9 New York Standard Time or Eastern Standard Time. And today is the last and final trading day of this week, Friday. So let's see what Nasdaq has to offer here today once more. This week being phenomenal, especially yesterday. Yesterday had a really nice sell-off during the PM session, which I not just during the PM session, but pretty much the entire day. But the PM session specifically, that last trading hour, that execution that we posted on my YouTube channel, that was phenomenal. That was a really nice trade. So let's go in here now and see what happens for today. Let's see if we can get another opportunity and pass those accounts for today. Just a moment, I'll be right back. Let me just log into my account. Alright, so I'm back. I just had to log into my trading account there for a minute. I didn't want to show my credentials. So that being said, let's see what today has to offer. I'm going really light today. I'm not doing much because I already made pretty much my target, almost there to my target. So no need for me to do anything that crazy or try to be that aggressive. And again, today is Friday, so I'm going really light for today's trading. So what I'm going to do, mark up some buy side. Let's see if we can have a potential retrace higher, or would price continue to the downside. Let's see what happens here. But I'm looking at this in that area here. You can see we have a breaker block plus other block in that area here plus inversion gap. So we want to see if that area here would act as support on price to go to the upside. Alright, and I will keep it on my chart. I would go down. chart as clean as possible. On the 15th, so on the 15th, we're watching that PDA raising here. Let's see if these have any level of significance or not. And then I'm looking at the buy side liquidity resting above here. Again, I'm not expecting much for today. I'm really not expecting much. I will just go ahead and mark out my opening prices. So midnight, 8:30 open. I'll go ahead and mark that out. So 8:30 open. We also had CPI, which already went. So pretty much we have no remaining deals for the week. Again, it's a final day, so let's see how that goes. Let me also mark out my midnight open. Just a sec. Midnight opening price. That would be right here. So I have my midnight open and my 8:30 open. So let's just gauge premium and discount, and then we'll see what happened thereafter. So London highs and lows is already taken as well. And I'm looking at this buy side liquidity resting right here. Alright? This buy side resting here. I'm paying attention to. Let's see if we can get price retracing a bit higher. And then we have the opening range gap. What size of a gap we could potentially have? So a really small gap potentially. So let's see how that gap opens. That gap is just about 90 something points. So as mentioned on the 15-minute, and also that yellow shaded area that you're looking at here, that yellow area is the daily volume imbalance. So I'm looking at that 15 array right here, that inversion gap. I'm looking at that coupled with a breaker block, also order block resting right inside here. So I want to see how that treats price. So that inversion gap comes all the way down here, applying the volume imbalance as well. And we have a breaker block inside of here, two down up close candle is our breaker block, and then we have an order block. So let's see if price have some level of respect in that area to trade higher after taking sell side liquidity. And we have the ES. So we have a small SMT divergence here with the ES actually. That when we had that run higher here in pre-market, rather nice. So let's see here what happens. So we delete the yellow box just to keep my chart a bit clean. I'll put it back up to the daily only. Right? So we just leave the quadrants on it. So you can see me bouncing around in the upper quadrant or the high of that daily. Let me just show you what that daily volume imbalance here. Price is trading at its high currently. So I'm paying attention to those levels and those quadrants, seeing how price reacts around it. We have the opening bell in just a couple of minutes, so we want to see how the opening range gap opens. So I'm just looking at the ES. Then we have Dow Jones. So we have the market in sync. So that's really good. We'll also see if price have the ability to trade lower or higher. Either way, let's see what happens. I'm also looking at the ES. Sometimes it's actually more possible to get a trade on the ES and meet our target easier, right? With just one contract and just aim for about 10 points, 10 to 12 points just to meet our target. Because I'm just about $500 away from passing this 50K account. I'm up like $2,470 something dollars. So I just need like $500 ish to pass. So that is what we would be looking to achieve here today. Again, I'm in favor of lower prices. Yesterday was a rather large range, so today can be a much smaller range given us as well as Friday. So we want to see how price trades here. Let's just observe. We have the opening range in a minute. Most likely it's a discount gap. So that means our bias for the first 30 minutes is bullish with a potential retrace back into 50% of the opening range gap. Well, let's see if that is offered or not. So it's not that big of an opening range gap, but reasonable enough to see some exciting price action or high probability conditions. Yes. So you can see we still have the highs intact on ES. On Nasdaq run the highs, ES didn't. So we want to see if that would be an area where they want to gravitate towards buy side. But I like the fact that we have the assets in sync with one another. That's perfect. So actually it's not S&K divergence, so we have these highs intact on both assets. So let's see if they would gravitate towards there. Preferably, I'm in favor of running those buy side. I think we can definitely run those. And what we do thereafter will determine. I don't have high expectations, and I'm not expecting much. As I said, I'm just coming here to meet my goal and call it a week. And we'll be back on Tuesday, preferably, when I look at the economic calendar. Well, let's see here. These relatively equal highs is where my attention is at. Let's see if we can get that delivered. We have the opening bell in just a couple minutes. Let's see if we can get that opening range gap filled in the first 30 minutes of trading. So we have opening bell, opening range gap lower, alright, so I'm just measuring the quadrants. Let's see what happens here. So price opened and trading to the lower quadrant. Again, the market is in sync, so that's a great sign. I love to see that. We have all averages trading pretty much the same, so that's amazing to see. Let's see what happens here. I'm looking at consequent encroachment of that week. Let's see the 50% of that week, how would it treat it. Also, keep in mind that orange shaded area is that 15-minute inversion gap. That's resting also inside of a breaker block and order block. So let's see if that level would show as resistance in price. So you can see the ES is stronger to a degree. Let's see if that would hold. But I like how they open price and run lower. That's decent. That's nice to see. So I'm looking to see if that immediate rebalance would happen here. Alright, so target met. The 50% of the opening range gap was pretty much hit. So let's see if they want to take the highs much higher. I'm just measuring price here on the ES. And again, I would wait for the first presented fair value gap. But thus far, you can see it's some pretty much choppy price action. So I'll wait for the first presented gap. And I'm looking at this sell side resting here. And if we go to the 1 hour, Let's see if price can go all the way to these lows beneath here. Again, I don't need all this, so not much of a high expectation. And then on the ES, we have these equal lows right here from pre-market. So you have to be way more careful here. But you can see 50% of the opening range gap delivered. Not clean, but it was delivered. So now let's see if they would send price much lower. So nice delivery here on the ES. On the ES, I'm looking at the relatively equal lows. ES is also trading inside of this inversion. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens here. That's a really crucial area. When you can see that 15-minute inversion gap is holding price, you can see price is really banging around inside of it, because we have 3 P areas nested in that small area here. We are also in a discounted market, so it's reasonable to see some buys happening in that area here. But again, we won't just blindly pull the trigger. We would wait for some form of confirmation that price is willing to go higher, and then we can potentially take it to the upside. But we are trading in a discounted market. Today is Friday. Let's see what happens. Let's see. Let's sit in our hands until then. Once the first presented fair value gap get created, we would see how we treat price thereafter by using the first presented gap. So on ES, remember these lows here is where my eyes is at. Price is still trading inside of that 15-minute. We went down deep into it, so we're really watching here to see what happens. But we went down deep into it and also traded at the upper quadrant of the daily volume imbalance. That reddish area in here, that line, that's the upper quadrant of the daily volume imbalance. That price trade down into there. So now let's see how price trades here. But you can see we find support right here at the T. So let's just observe price. And again, I'm keep shifting through the different assets just to see if they're in synchronization. But thus far, high resistance liquidity run. So perfect run over there. Let's see if on ES if we can get target hit of the relatively equal lows. I didn't enter anything as yet. Alright, so target hit there. Let's see what happens here now. You can see the ranges start getting quite large. So you have to be very careful here with stop loss placement. But we should get that target delivered anytime from now. Perfectly. So delete this actually, just to keep my chart more clean. And we're going to have the first presented fair value gap here. First presented fair value gap on the ES right here. I do want to see price come back up into that first presented gap. Preferably it makes more sense to see us drop lower rather than come back up into it. My eyes would go to the buy side liquidity resting right here. The sell side, sorry. So my eyes is at the sell side liquidity resting beneath here. So that's the first presenting gap here. I'm looking to see how price trade in that level if we do make it up there, up that way. I do have to be cautious with just entering blindly. Because as mentioned, the ranges is getting really, really huge. So you have to be very, very, very careful. So now my attention go to the buy side. Run price low in a discounted market. Now it can be aiming for the buy side liquidity resting higher. Let's see if that's where they're trying to take price. But again, you can see the ranges is just way too big to be a reasonable stop loss. So you have to be really careful here. So really volatile markets. But you can see the price use the PD arrays rather nicely. So you can see one candle is almost 100 points. Not markets I'm trying to engage in. Not at all. Unless I'm being offered a good enough stop loss. If I had the 15-second chart, then for sure I would have dropped down to the lower time frame, but I don't, so I have to work with the minute only. So let me see if I can get the entry here or not. Again, it's not just about entering here, it's entering where it makes sense. With those large ranges, you have to be very skeptical with where you enter here. Otherwise, you can get caught on the wrong side, and it might be a loss that you can't really digest. Right? You can see here perfect delivery on the opening range gap, or the first presented fair value gap, sorry. So now let's see what happens here. Now we close above the opening range gap. We take buy sell liquidity. Let's see if price want to go for sell side or continue dropping lower. But again, you can see how volatile the price action is getting. You can see how volatile that market is. You want to be very, very mindful here. I can't stress that anymore. You want to be very, very careful. I'm looking at this inversion gap. And again, being very mindful how I enter and where I enter this market, because yeah, it's really, 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 really volatile. I have to be very, very careful here. Otherwise, as I said, you get caught on the wrong side, you can get hurt really, really bad. I'm looking at the bodies of these candles here. Look at how he's staying at that level right here. Right, so I'm observing price here still. I'm not just entering. But very volatile markets. Very, very, very volatile. So I'm watching that inversion fair value gap there, but at the same time, we're trading into a higher fair value gap here in a more premium market. So that could send the market lower. So I don't just want to buy that inversion gap right there, which is this gap. I don't want to just buy this. But this market is crazy. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. Let's see what happens here. With this no balanced price range or break a block, not break a block, sorry. That would not be a reclaim. Price shouldn't go back up into this. So try this. I will try this and I will put a tight stop. So I sold there. I sell this fair value gap in here. That small fair value gap inside here is what I sold. My stop is just about so maybe about $400. And you can see really volatile market. So I get stopped there. Really, really volatile markets, not markets to play with. So that would be it for the stream today. I took that loss, put me down a bit more, but it is what it is. But that would be it. So good day and good trading.